Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we live in the United States of America, where the majority of the people are Christian. And it's very common from my experience that you're going to be faced with three scenarios. Somebody will come to you and ask you, what does Islam say about Jesus? Jesus is the name of Sayyidina Isa in the West. What does Islam say about Jesus? Another scenario, you may be sitting with a group, and one of the people who claim to be the expert on Islam, then he was going to say something very ridiculous about Islam and what they say about Sayyidina Isa. And people will look at you. Are you going to say anything, or are you going to stay quiet? If you stay quiet, they're going to believe it. If you don't say anything, then that means you agree with them. So you have to speak up. And the third scenario, one of your colleagues, your neighbors, or your friend may watch something on TV or something on the internet that's outrageous, and they're going to come and say, is it true that Islam says this and this about Jesus, about Isa alayhi salam? And you have to be able to answer that. So what we're going to do, inshallah, today and a few khutbahs from the next few khutbahs, we're going to talk about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the Prophet of Allah, Jesus. And Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, his life is all miracles. From his birth to his life to his death, it's all miracles. And in order to talk about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, we have to start with his grandparents. His grandparents are Imran and his wife. And Imran was a very religious person. And his wife was a very religious person as well. And as a matter of fact, even though Imran was not a prophet, there is a chapter in the Quran called Ala Imran, the family of Imran, because of how good a person he was. So a chapter in the Quran is named after the grandparent of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. And when we talk about Sayyidina Isa, we have to remember his mother. His mother is Sayyidah Maryam, Lady Maryam. The West call her Mary. And Maryam has a special place in Islam, very special place. She's the only woman in the Quran that was mentioned by name. No other women were mentioned by name. All other were mentioned by their position. Like the mother of Sayyidina Musa is called Musa. She's not called by her name. The wife of Pharaoh, her name is Asya, but she was mentioned in the Quran, the wife of Pharaoh. The wife of Sayyidina Imran was mentioned in the Quran, Imra'ata Imran, not her name. Only Sayyidah Maryam was mentioned by name in the Quran. Nobody else, no other woman was mentioned by name. And in addition to honor her, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is a chapter in the Quran with her name, Surah Maryam, the chapter of Maryam. No other women had that kind of honor. And she's the only non-prophet who ever saw Jibreel talk to him and he talked to her. No other human being had that status. Jibreel was only talking to prophet and messengers. But she's the only exception, Sayyidah Maryam. And she was mentioned in the Quran 33 times. Many of the prophets were not mentioned that many times. She was mentioned 33 times in the Quran. And she is one of the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So her mother and father, Imran and his wife, didn't have any children. And they were getting older. And they made dua to Allah to have a child. And then the wife of Imran made a dua to Allah. She said, إِذْ قَالَتْ امْرَأَةُ عِمْرَانَ رَبِّ إِنِّي نَظَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي مُحَرَّرًا فَتَقَبَّلْ مِنِّي إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Remember when the wife of Imran said, O my Lord, I have vowed to you what is in my womb to be dedicated for your services. So accept this from me. You are the all-hearer, the all-knowing. She asked Allah for a child, and she made a promise to Allah. The promise she made to Allah is that child is going to be dedicated to your services, to service you in the temple. And she used a very interesting word. She said muharraran. Muharraran in Arabic means liberated. What does she mean by liberated by that? She means by that that Allah, I'm going to make him free of me. I'm not going to ask him to do anything for me. I'm his mother, but I'm giving up my motherly rights. I don't want him to take care of me. I don't want him to love me. I want him to be dedicated to your service only. That's all I want from him. So she made that promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then continue to say, فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمَ وَإِنِّي أُعِيدُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. Then when she gave birth to her, she said, "Oh my Lord, I have given birth to a female child." And Allah knew better what she delivered. And the male is not like the female. And I have named her Maryam. The West calls her Mary. And I seek refuge with you, Allah, for her and for her children from Shaitan the rejected. When she gave birth to the child, she raised her hand and talked to Allah again. And she said, I had a baby girl, not a boy. And she's saying after that, and the boy is not like, a girl is not like a boy. She doesn't mean by that there is a difference because of the gender. No. What she means by that, I wanted the baby to be in the temple. And the Jewish custom, only people who serve in the temple are male, no female. So she's telling Allah, I made a promise to you for my child to serve in the temple, but it's a girl, so I don't know what to do. It's a girl. What's interesting here in that verse, a couple of things. When she made dua to Allah, she's talking from her heart. She's telling him the story. I had a baby girl, and she's not a boy. And please protect her, Allah. What Allah is telling us with this verse is, when you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua from the heart. Some people memorize dua and they don't understand what it means. That's not good. Say what's in your heart. That's what Allah expects from you. Talk from your heart. That's what she did. She told him the whole story. Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. But she told him the whole story, everything she feels inside. So that's when you make dua. If you want Allah to answer you, make it from your heart. Not something memorized. That's not what Allah expects from you. And then the other thing that she did, she's teaching us something interesting. When you have a new baby, do exactly like the mother of Mary did. She asked Allah protect her from Shaitan and her children. So anytime you have a new child, make that dua to Allah to protect your child from Shaitan and the children of your baby. And she called her Maryam. The language at the time is called Aramaic. That's a language that was spoken at the time. And Maryam in Aramaic means a female worshipper. So she was hoping that she grows up to be a good human being and a good worshipper to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she named her Maryam. Then Allah says, فَتَقَبَّلْهَا رَبُّهَا بِقُبُولٍ حَسَنٍ وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا وَكَفَلَهَا زَكَرِيَّا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا قال يا مريم أن لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. So her Lord accepted her with a good acceptance and made her grow up a good growing and gave her into the charge of Zechariah. Whenever Zechariah entered the sanctuary to see her, he found with her food. He said, "Oh Maryam, where have you gotten this?" She said, "It is from Allah. Surely Allah gives to whom He pleases without measure." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of her from the beginning. Zechariah was a prophet. So Allah made the one who is in charge of her a prophet to raise her. Not even a regular person, a prophet to raise her. And the other thing, it says that she was in a mihrab. What it means, she was in an area secluded from the people. She spent all her time worshipping Allah, day and night. She's not interacting with people. She's in a separate, secluded area on her own, making dua to Allah and praying to Allah. And then Sayyidina Zakaria is the one who's raising her, and he's in charge of her. He's the one who's buying the food, everything for her. So every time he walks on her, he finds things that he didn't buy. So he asked her. First of all, he didn't accuse her of anything. He asked. That's what we have to learn, that don't accuse people. First ask, understand. Don't accuse. So he asked her, where did you get all of that? Scholars say that Sayyidah Maryam, she used to have in her place fruits that are not in season. Fruit that grows in summer were there in winter. Fruit that grows in winter were there in summer. And in addition, there was fruits that are not growing in that area at all. So he was kind of puzzled. How did you get all of that? So he asked her, where did you get this? And it's very interesting that in this scenario, the Prophet, the little girl is teaching him. She said, it is from Allah. She reminded him. He knows that, but he forgot. So she reminded him, it is from Allah. Surely Allah gives to whom He pleases without measure. So if it's Allah who is going to give you something, there is no limit to what Allah can give you. And then it says, وَإِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَاكِ وَطَهَّرَكِ وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. And when the angels, when we say the angels, it means Jibreel alayhi salam. And when the angels said, O Maryam, surely Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you above the women of the world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us Maryam is the best of the best, chosen, purified, and then chosen again. So she's the best of the best. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, the best women in paradise are four. Maryam, daughter of Imran, Asya, wife of Pharaoh, Khadija bint Khuwaylid, the first wife of Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, and Fatima, daughter of Muhammad. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, many men reach perfection, but among women, Maryam, daughter of Imran, and Asya, wife of Pharaoh. Why there is more men than women? Because all prophets are men. So and prophets reach perfection. So he said that many men reach perfection, but only two women reach perfection. Maryam and the wife of Pharaoh. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُبَشِّرُكِ بِكَلْمَةٍ مِّنْهُ اسْمُهُ الْمَسِيحُ عِيسَى ibn Maryam. When the angel said, O Maryam, surely Allah gives you good news with a word from Him of one whose name is the Messiah, Isa, son of Maryam. It's interesting, Allah gave her a hint that she's going to have a child and she's going to be the mother. He said son of Maryam. And normally in the culture, when they refer to somebody, they refer to them with the name of their father. But in this case, he referred to her with the name of her, in the name of Isa, with his mother only. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named the child. He called her, it's going to be named Isa. So the name came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قالت ربي أن يكون لي ولد ولم يمسسني بشر قال كذلك الله يخلق ما يشاء إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. She said, O my Lord, how shall I have a son when no man has touched me? He said, so for Allah creates what He wills. When He has decreed something, He says to it only, be, and it is. So Jibreel explained to her that Allah, when He decides something, He doesn't need any method. You don't need to have a man to have a child. It's Allah make a decision, He will make it happen. He said be, and it happens. Kun fayakun. And then in addition, she was told, وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَالتَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ. And here Allah will teach him the book and the wisdom and the Torah and the gospel. Injil, in the West they call it gospel. So Allah told Sayyidah Maryam even before Jesus was born that He's going to have a book, and the book is called Injil, the gospel. فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا. So she conceived him and she withdrew with him to a far place. She became pregnant and she moved away. She doesn't want anybody to see her because questions are going to come up. Why you're pregnant? How did you get pregnant? So she moved away. فآجأها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا. and the pains of childbirth drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She said, "Oh, I wish I had died before this," and was forgotten and out of sight. It's amazing, with all the miracles she saw, and she's talking to Jibreel and all of that, still she has a hard time with her pregnancy. Remember, scholars say she was 19 years old. 19 years old, she's so afraid. She's having a baby, and she's not married. What people are going to do to her. She's panicking. So she's hoping, I wish I was dead and I was not alive for this to happen. فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا. The minute Isa alayhi salam was born, he talked to her. So he said, "Do not be sad. Surely your Lord has made a stream to flow beneath you." It's very interesting. If I was writing the scenario for that whole event, the first thing I would have made Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam say, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah." There is no God except Allah. But look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did. The first thing he said, he's trying to be kind and gentle with his mother. He's trying to be a good son. So he's telling her, don't be afraid, don't be sad. That's the first word he said. Allah is telling us, be kind to your parents. Jesus' first word was, be kind, don't be sad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, He made a little river flow next to her so she can drink. Little river next to her. And then He said, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تَسَاقَطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. And shake toward you the trunk of the palm tree. It will drop upon you ripe, fresh dates. This is very strange. She just had a baby. Any woman, when after delivery, she's very weak, and she just had a baby. And Allah and Isa alayhi salam is telling her, shake the palm tree. What can she do? If you bring a very strong man and shake a palm tree, you cannot get one date to drop from the palm tree. One date. The strongest man on earth, you cannot do that. So a weak woman, she just had delivery, and she's going to shake the palm tree to get some dates down. Allah is giving us a message for us. Allah is telling us, always do your part, and then the rest is Allah's going to do. So He's asking her, do your part, shake the palm tree. She's not going to get the palm tree. She's shaking the tree, but Allah is going to make the date drop to her. So anything in this life, you have to take care of whatever Allah give you. Use it. Use the means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do miracles for you. But don't sit and do nothing and expect Allah to do something for you. Do your part first, and then ask Allah, and He will do it. And why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Jesus talk to her immediately after His birth? Number one, if Jesus didn't talk to her, and the first time He talks was in front of the people, she's going to faint. Her baby is talking, something scary. The other thing, He wanted to give her confidence because she's going to go and talk to people. And she has a baby and she's not married. So He wanted to give her courage. So she knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is supporting her and He's helping her. So she took her baby and went to the city. And the people gathered around her. She has a baby, they know she's not married. What's going on? Everybody gathered. So they start by telling her, يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغية. O sister of Harun, your father was not an evil man, nor was your mother an unchaste woman. The word sister of Harun is an expression at the time. They had a very religious person called Harun. And whenever they want to refer to somebody that is a religious person, they say brother of Harun or sister of Harun. So he's telling her, sister of Harun, you religious woman who's sitting all the time, secluded, praying and all of that, and your father was a very good man. Why did you do something like that? Your father was not an evil man. And your father, quote unquote, and your mother, quote unquote, was not a prostitute. So how come you do something like that? Why do you bring shame to yourself and to your family? فأشارت إليه قال كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا. Then she pointed to him. They said, how can we talk to one who is a child in the cradle? You're pointing to him, he's a baby. What do you want to expect to hear from him? Sayyidina Isa talked and he said, قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا. He said, surely I am a servant of Allah. He has given me the book and made me a prophet. وبارا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شقيا. And extremely kind to my mother, and he has not made me rude or miserable. He said to my mother. He didn't say to my parents. He said to my mother. He was very specific. It's kind of interesting. If you look at the Gospels, the books of the Christian, the Gospels, in the Gospel they have most of the miracles that we have in the Quran about Sayyidina Isa, they are in the Gospel. He created birds and brought them to life. He brought people to life. Most of the miracles that we have in the Quran, they are in the Gospel. Except this miracle that he talked when he's a baby. That's the only one that's not in the Gospel. Why is that? For two reasons. Number one, if somebody in the Christians say that Jesus, when he was a baby, he talked, the first thing people are going to ask, what did he say? And they're going to say, he said, I'm the servant of Allah. So it's a big problem. Then the second thing, they started to change the religion and they wanted to make Jesus the Son of God, astaghfirullah, the Son of God. So how we can do that? They said, let's drop that whole miracle completely, get it out. So nobody will ask us question about it. Let's drop it out. They got it out of the Gospels. And some of the Gospels, there is one Gospel called Barnabas. It says that Jesus said, I'm the servant of Allah, and that he is a messenger. He's not the Son of God. But that Bible, they don't recognize it. They ignore it. Somebody else may say, like a non-Muslim say, maybe the Quran is wrong. Maybe that whole instance never happened. And guaranteed it happened. Not because I'm a Muslim and I believe that the Quran is the truth and the word of God and everything in it is the absolute truth. Not because of that. Because of something else. Jesus was born in a Jewish community. And at the time, the community, their laws is any person who commits adultery has to be killed. That's it, man or woman. Both of them have to be killed. So if she brought a baby and went to the city and everybody saw her and they didn't kill her, that means this is something that was so powerful, stopped them from doing that. And this is the reason that he talked. So they couldn't touch her. Just a side comment I want to make. If you look on in all the painting that they have about Maryam alayhi salam, or all the statue they have, all the statue and all the painting, she's wearing a hijab. All of them, she's wearing a hijab. But when you talk to some of the commentators, on TV and stuff like that, when they talk about the hijab of Sayyidah Maryam, they tell you it's a sign of honor, it's a sign of righteousness, it's a sign of decency. But the same people, when they see a Muslim woman wearing a hijab, they tell you it's a sign of oppression, backwardness, uncivilized person. In reality, the double standard they have is a sign of hypocrisy, hate, and Islamophobia. Because both of them are the same. But when one person, it's one story. When it's a Muslim, it's a different story.